Hey y'all. It is October 3rd, the day after I have recorded my deck tech and first league match with Blue Black Ire Theft. And you're probably a little confused looking at the title of the video and the thumbnail and wondering, we only had one league match. Even if I'd lost that league match, why is this league ending so quickly? If it was an unsuccessful league and I just wanted to call it there, um, why uh, why upload the videos at all? And that's because I had a lot of fun with my league match last night. It was a very fun match, and I figured I'd like to get that video up before I do any more play, so you all don't have to wait. And as it turns out, I maybe should have waited on uploading that match because the pre GP patch was just announced today. About an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes ago, roughly in that range, while I was at my local card shop. And as I was leaving, I checked my phone to see the news in the Revolution News channel. A lot of card image fixes, little bugs and other issues with the October October season change patch. Very normal stuff, but hidden in there was one card change that I was not expecting. And that is because Protoclast Behemoth was released incorrectly. There was an element of the card that the curators had intended to have taken off of the card that did not, in fact, get removed from the card. So they have updated and removed that element of the card, and unfortunately, this deck is going to have to suffer because of it. And this is my second attempt at recording this because the card image bugged and it was very temporarily the old version. And there we go, we just immediately updated, so I don't have to actually even pause the video to get the card images sorted. This is the new version of Protoclast Behemoth. I wish I could have pretended that I did that on purpose. This is our new version of Protoclast Behemoth. This is the version that was intended to be revealed to us uh, at the onset of the October patch, uh, at the like earlier this week. So unfortunately, Protoclast Behemoth no longer removes up to one target creature when it enters. I have some conflicting thoughts here. There's a little bit of emotional hurt here just on the basis of, I was really excited to finish out this league run with this deck, and Protoclast Behemoth's change, gaining that ward cost and gaining 3 mana was a big impetus to try this deck with this build, with Tide's Ire, I talked about in the deck tech. I looked at playing Behemoth alongside Chittering Gargantua just to max out on things that make tokens with Tide's Ire immediately, and I realized Behemoth and Gargantua leaned in very opposite directions, and I kind of wanted to play with some of the theft cards in Cyberos that I haven't really gotten to play before. So I figured, you know what, let's play the Cyberos theft cards. I played a lot of Chittering Gargantua last month. Let's try something I haven't really played around. So I built the Protoclast Behemoth deck, and then we had a very, very tight, very fun control mirror uh, in our match last night. And unfortunately, that's the only match we're going to get to play with this deck. Now, in theory, I could push through and play this deck for a match or two, uh, see if, the Protoclast Behemoth change isn't too backbreaking to the deck. And I'm going to preface any like negative thoughts I might have about this change by saying I do not think by any means that Protoclast Behemoth is an unplayable card. I think this card is still very good. I think, 3 mana 9/6 trampler with a potent ward cost is nothing to sneeze at. That being said, I think this is a very debilitating change, especially for this particular deck, which has no other targeted removal spells besides the now former version of Protoclast Behemoth. Um, there were deck inclusions that were made specifically with the Behemoth in mind. Part of why I included Experimental Flight was to be able to flicker a Behemoth and get another removal spell effect out of it, which resulted in me playing Inner Ring's Pupil and Harvesting Blade. And because Experimental Flight can flicker Planeswalkers, there's also the option of downticking a Solace after the turn we play it, and then flickering it to immediately get all its loyalty back. There were a lot of deck building decisions were stacked on top of the Proto-class Behemoth. I specifically thought that Behemoth would benefit from a theft package, not only because the theft package helps put our opponent's cards into exile for the Behemoth's cost reduction, but also because playing our opponent's creatures is a good way to supplement Tide's Ire and help fuel it, put a lot of counters on it without necessarily needing to lean on the Proto-class Behemoth. But unfortunately, Behemoth is no longer going to be something we can rely on for meaningfully interacting with our opponent's board beyond our opponent trying to remove it, at which point they get to choose what they're losing, not us. I think this significantly neuters Proto-class Behemoth in terms of how strong it is. There are a number of kind of trinkety things running around in the format right now that I think Behemoth's ward cost makes Behemoth's ward cost look a lot fairer than it does. The big one that I saw pointed out was this is very painful in the face of a number of things going on in the format. So first off, we have a lot of very powerful edicts. We have Iris Pledge. So that's obviously going to make us exile a creature we control, and if behemoths are only creature, that's going to take away behemoth. There is Omen of Deception, and those are just sort of like two of the bigger ones. Or not, sorry, not Omen of Deception, Omen of Slaughter. But Deception is relevant to the conversation we're having here. Omen of Slaughter, another very powerful piece of interaction, to sort of make each opponent sacrifice a creature or planeswalker. Again, if behemoths are only option, we kind of have no choice but to lose it. And so, at that point, the ward cost is really meaningless, and we kind of built up our way to a 3-mana 9/6, only to kind of just pay the price of not having any other board development. And, yes, we do have some other board development, but decks that are running these kind of edict effects are likely to have more removal to supplement those edict effects, and it certainly doesn't help our case that nearly all of our creatures are very fragile to effects like Chronicle Extinction. On top of that, the omens are very, very popular right now in the format, particularly Omen of Deception, Omen of Slaughter, and the White Omen. Blanking on the name of it right now, but it makes an army token that gets 2+1/+1 counters on it. Any of the three of those opens up the way to have a free sort of trinkety permanent that you can sacrifice, that you can exile off your board to remove a Proto-class Behemoth with targeted removal. You Omen a Deception, your opponent's spell that they play to follow up a Proto-class Behemoth, and then you can just, rather than paying 3 to sacrifice it and scry 2, which is a real cost that you have to, pay to not be able to use that sacrifice ability. But I think that cost is pretty small when you're getting to remove your opponent's Proto-class Behemoth, and they functionally don't get to clear any of your creatures. I think that's really, really backbreaking. There's also just a lot of really interesting and potent 1-drops. There's Tokens is a deck that I think will thrive a bit more with Work Safety Violation. Work Safety Violation getting changed. So there's rather than just searching it there, let's search for it here. So obviously, Spirited Protest and the 2 mana make 2 tokens, and then you have a sacrifice mode to give a creature haste. There's also Flags on High, which does similar thing, make 2 1/1s. You can sacrifice to give a creature haste and a power boost. And these are very easy things to just sort of throw away in the face of a Proto-class Behemoth. If you're running any form of targeted removal, this isn't something that can very easily be removed in a red-white tokens deck, except, you block one of their 1/1 tokens with a Proto-class Behemoth, and then they just get to braze your Proto-class Behemoth, deal the final 5 points of damage, and exile a Flags on High. Suddenly, this 3-mana 9/6 Trampler looks a lot more frail when it has no other staying power beyond that ward cost, and it's not a particularly strong ward cost in the face of the current format. And again, I mentioned, there's all of these different 1-drops that you have to play as well. You have Ignited Soul. You have Agent of Deception. All of these different small cards that we were playing in our GP deck that were just very easy things you want to get in play early to sort of get an engine rolling, and then later on you kind of don't mind if they go away, especially if you're targeting something like a Protoclast Behemoth with removal. You really don't mind exiling your Ignited Soul over, say, your Lurking Vircolacus or your Chittering Gargantua. So I think Behemoth is much more poorly positioned right now. Again, I don't want to sort of have you leave this video thinking a 3-mana 9/6 Trampler with a ward cost is just inherently a terrible card. But I do think it is significantly worse than what we had previously. I think I would be perfectly fine with this retaining the Enters effect and not gaining this ward cost. I think I would still be very interested in playing this card. But without that removal effect on there, I think this ward cost is not going to be enough to help it be meaningful. And while part of me is like, I kind of wish they hadn't increased the mana cost, because then I think this could still see some interesting amounts of play. I think if they hadn't increased the mana cost, I would have never attempted it alongside Tidesire to begin with. So it's a very difficult position that I'm in where, I can say what I wish the curators had done, but ultimately no change other than this would have resulted in something as meaningful, I suppose. I think the ideal world for me is I wish they had tried a month of Behemoth just costing more and not losing its Enters ability, keeping the ward cost, and just sort of seeing, is it just how easy Behemoth comes down early that's the problem, or is it just Behemoth being able to remove a specific creature in general? But unfortunately, we don't live in that world. I don't get to make the decisions here, and I'm kind of glad I don't make the decisions here. I don't want anyone to think that this is me saying, oh, boo-hoo, the curators. No, no, no. I think I respect the curator's decision here. Make sure that this card just sort of isn't going to be a problem moving forward. I think this does successfully address the problem. And, if Protoclast Behemoth had proven to sort of still be too resilient with the Enters effect, then yeah, this is a problem sort of mitigated. It is unfortunate that this is removed without us getting to see if the cost increase alone would have addressed the problem, but that's the world we live in, and we just gotta kind of roll with the punches. The nice thing here is, no money invested, no time, only time invested here really on the card, and, we just move on. So, where am I kind of ending all of this? I liked what I felt the deck was capable of. I felt like, the deck really kind of got to operate on almost all of the axes that I'd kind of hoped it would. I never really got to see the Harvesting Blades come into action. I kind of only got to pitch the Inner Ring Pupils to Mulligans and to Redevelop Cityscape. I kind of had wished I would have gotten to see this card succeed a little bit more, but for now, this is kind of just where I have to end it with that card. Only ever got a Stolen Secrets countered, never really got to play an Experimental Flight. So, there's a lot of little elements there that I like. There are things with this deck I would love to get to try more. I wanted to see if I was onto something with the Mirror Meld Spire and the 3 Coalesced lands, or if perhaps that was a mistake. Didn't really get to test that out too thoroughly. So a lot of little things I wish I had gotten more time to test with. Perhaps I should have just kind of pushed myself to play another league match or two last night, but it was starting to get a little late and I have so many other things on my plate, I didn't want to push myself. And sometimes these are the choices we have to make. So, unfortunately, Blue-Black Ire Theft will not be continuing. We're going to be ending this league run 1-0. I enjoyed the deck for the match that I got to play with. This deck, I think there are some deck building decisions I could have made better. The first deck to arrive in the deck lists channel of the month has occurred, and it was All Who Wander playing a very similar Blue-Black Theft deck, just, shaving the Protoclast Behemoth, Tidesire, Experimental Flight, Harvesting Blade, Salices for more individually good cards that are more equipped to fight the format right now. Thovius Adi instead of Salice as just a more just a more like stable planeswalker that doesn't have to shred your opponent's hand as much, because you don't need to put your opponent's cards in exile if you're not playing Protoclast Behemoth. No Inner Rings Pupils or Lurking Vircolacuses, because they don't play into the theft plan, and outside of the theft plan you're kind of just playing pieces of interaction. They have the Dissect Intels in the main deck. They have Lurking Vircolacus relegated to the sideboard. I think All Who Wanders deck, if you're interested in playing a blue black theft deck, I think the 4 of Data Weaver, 3 of Callisto baseline for a blue black theft deck is going to be very real. And I think if you are interested in that kind of strategy, highly recommend you give All Who Wanders version of the list a try. Obviously we don't get to do any spicy things with Tide's Ire and Protoclast Behemoth in that deck, but we can't really do the spicy things the way we wanted to with those cards anyways now. So unfortunately, this is going to be the end for Protoclast Behemoth. Will I try Tide's Ire again in the future? I'm inclined to say it's very possible. I'm not so sure how good this card will be with Chittering Gargantua. One of the things that's really awkward about Chittering Gargantua is the cards that help fuel it are not necessarily going to be triggering Tide's Ire, whereas Protoclast Behemoth does get triggered by Lurking Vircolacus, does get triggered, does get progressed with Data Weaver, does get progressed with Callista the Tachyarch. The only way that Chittering Behemoth Chittering Gargantua really fuels Tide's Ire is if we're casting 1-drops to put into play. So I'm not sure how well Tide's Ire is going to perform with this new version of Protoclast Behemoth. I'm not sure how well it will perform with the other 10 plus mana creatures in the format. I think this may be sort of the window closing on Tide's Ire, unfortunately. But it certainly may be possible that the card is still viable. We do still have a green creature capable of doing some removal things alongside the alongside Tide's Ire in Glacier Guardian. Obviously puts us in a different color, puts us in green, and puts us on a completely different strategy and trying to gain life, but still is a 6 toughness, low cost removal creature alongside Tide's Ire. So perhaps maybe we try something different with the same basic idea of we eventually get up to Glacier Guardian with Tide's Ire in play. We have a big powerful creature with trample that removes one of our opponent's creatures, and then we get a Tide's Ire 8/8 off of it. Perhaps that's the direction to take Tide's Ire. But I think for now, there are too many other things I want to try ahead of the GP, so I think this is going to be the end of Tide's Ire on the channel for now. We may see it again in the future. We'll see. But for now, we're going to have to say goodbye to this deck, as fun as it was for the game we got to play. With all of that said, I hope you all take care. Hope you all are having fun getting ready for, I believe it is... Grand Prix Scophos. Hope you all are having fun getting ready for Grand Prix Scophos. Deck list submissions, and I believe as Monday rolls over into Tuesday next week, Eastern Standard Time, happens at midnight Eastern Standard Time, I believe. So, very excited to see what everyone is bringing. I'm going to have to take a lot more time to think about what I'm bringing, but I also have a pretty busy weekend lined up ahead of me, so I will do my best to try and get more league play under my belt, get maybe a new league run or 2 under my belt for the channel. It just might be a bit difficult with everything else I have going on right now. So, unfortunately, that's going to be where we end here. I hope you all take care, and I will see you in the Revolution chat. Goodbye.